One last battle to hold the line against the night.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
Hold the line. No one gets through, no matter what.
Sir, what are your orders?
There's only one order, Lieutenant. Behold.
Incoming transmission.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
On MoJo5.0 Radio. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins right here, right now.
Oh, yes indeed, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the new Millennial Conservative Resistance does indeed begin right here, right now with you. You are listening to and hopefully watching the HoloNet on the mighty MoJo5.0. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Saturday, the 13th of April, in the year of our Lord 2019, and I am not quite as sniffly as I was the last time we joined. But still, you know, whenever I record at night, I don't know why, I always get like a little case of the sniffles. It's stupid. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. I said I'm gonna do this show, and by God, I'm going to do it. You know why? Because I can. Anyway. Yeah, I have no idea where I was going with that. But we're going to have a really, really fun hour today anyway. We have a ton to get through this week, and some of it is just fistfuls of bat crap stupid. I'm going to take you into the lovely politics of my very own home state of Sweet Home, Arizona. Sorry, any Alabamans that pissed off, but that's going to happen. Look at all these links. I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got like 14 links. If we manage to get through all of them, that's great. If not, hey, we had a good time trying. But we are going to start right here at the top of this hour. Right at the top of it. And you know what we're going to start with? We're going to start with Robert Francis O'Rourke. Robert Francis O'Rourke. Don't call him Beto. He's Irish. Zero hedge. Potential presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke has stunningly suggested the United States should ditch its own constitution. During an interview with the Washington Post, the Texas congressman openly mulled whether the rapidly changing nature of the world meant that the founding document of the country was out of date. Quote from the story is, throughout the 2-hour interview, which was often interrupted by bystanders urging him to run for president, O'Rourke boomeranged between bright-eyed hope that the United States will soon dramatically change its approach to a whole host of issues, and a dismal suspicion that the country is now incapable of implementing sweeping change. When asked which it is, Beto O'Rourke paused. That is, Robert Francis O'Rourke paused. You can see the article here a little bit bigger. If you're watching online, by the way, Facebook.com/HoloNet, YouTube BitChute. Make sure you find the video feed where you can. But he paused and said, I'm hesitant to answer because I really feel like it deserves its due, but I don't want to give you an actually, just selfishly, I don't want a sound bite of it reported. Too late. But yeah, I think that's the question of the moment. Does this still work? Can an empire like ours, with a military presence in over 170 countries around the globe, with trading relationships and security agreements in every continent, can it still be managed by the same principles that were set down 230 plus years ago? Well, damn it, Robert! Here on the HoloNet and on MoJo5.0, we say a defiant and very exuberant yes. Yes! The vision of our founders is as pertinent today as it ever has been. And I'm going to take you to a fantastic write-up on this from the Federalist. And we're going to do that today. But before we get to that, before we jump into that, I want to talk about your tummy. I want to talk about your tummy. lovemytummy.com/mojo. We're talking about Atrantil. Atrantil Comes 90 capsules in a box, normally $39.95 a box. You buy 3 boxes with our coupon code. You get a 3-month supply of bloating and digestive relief for only $99. Save over $20 on 3 boxes of azcentral. We want to introduce you to the world's first ever over-the-counter proven solution for bloating. It has 2 published clinical trials. It was developed by a board-certified gastroenterologist, Dr. Ken Brown. It's safe for daily use and contains 100% natural polyphenols designed to address bloating symptoms where they begin and not just treat the symptoms. It's not a probiotic. It's not an antibiotic. This blend of polyphenols is desired by your body to work as a gut regulator, to end methane, and then function as a postbiotic to benefit your overall health. The world's only digestive that contains quebracho colorado, and for you athletes, it is the only bloating remedy that is NSF, National Science Foundation, certified for sport. If you ever bloat after eating, get abdominal distension or tightness, feel tired and heavy after eating a meal, have unpredictable bathroom habits, with constipation or even sporadic diarrhea, symptoms that look like IBS, go to lovemytummy.com/mojo for azcentral. Well, when you want to start out your show with a fart joke, that's really solid work right there. Hey, don't know if you guys had a chance to give a listen last week. I was really very, very honored by some of the kind things that the much louder Matt Locke of MoJo5.0 had to say. They were very kind to me. They seem to think a great deal of this little show, and I hope you do too. That we are now 3 shows deep? Yeah, 3 shows deep here at MoJo5.0, and it's been just an absolute blast so far. I mean, in all honesty, I had no idea that it was going to be this much fun to get in front of this audience. I mean, I'd done so a couple of times before. I'd subbed with Stephen Airy on the Defenders Live, and now Dylan Lyles is back, and they haven't even invited me back. They don't even call. But, I have my own show now. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. In the wee, strange, small hours of 7 p.m. Eastern Time on a Saturday. But hey, I mean, there are other things you can be doing. If your day is going well, I hope you're popping open a cold one and settling back in to watch some of the madness unfolding in the world around us. Yes. I'll see if I can make that just a little scarier next time I do it. That's all right, though. Hey, we're going to go now. Here we go to the Federalist. This is an article that I saw just back on the 9th. This appeared on the Federalist, and this is by Robert Curry. And it's a bit of a philosophical piece. Robert writes that number 10 is the best Federalist paper, and that's why the left hates it so much. Progressives have a different purpose for government than securing citizens' natural rights. They want to use the vast powers of government to change America. And this is the counterpoint, the perfect counterpunch to what Robert Francis O'Rourke is saying, and you'll see why in a moment. Robert Curry writes, quoting the Federalist Papers, "The smaller the society, the fewer probably will be the distinct parties and interests composing it." I'm going to go fuller screen here so you can see what I'm seeing. "The more easily will they concert and execute their plans of oppression. Extend the sphere, and you take in a greater variety of parties and interests, you make it less probable that the majority of the whole will invade the rights of the citizens." James Madison, Federalist, number 10. Thomas Jefferson called the Federalist Papers the best commentary on the principles of government which was ever written. It was true then and remains true today. Editorializing here, I agree wholeheartedly. I am a firm and staunch believer in the Federalist Papers. In fact, I keep a copy of it around here somewhere. It's back here behind the green screen, so I'll have to grab it for you, maybe at the break. I can show you. I have this beautiful hardbound copy of the U.S. Constitution that also has the Declaration of Independence and all the Federalist Papers. If this is not a part of your library as a patriot and as a conservative or a libertarian, I strongly recommend you add it because it gives such keen insight and it gives the contextual know-how to really understand the Constitution. If you read the Constitution outside of the context of the Federalist Papers or the Constance Do-Good letters that Benjamin Franklin wrote, you are missing out on so much, and it's very, very difficult for you to understand the intent behind the document. But I digress and go back to the story here. The masterpiece of American political thought began as a series of newspaper opinion pieces encouraging Americans to ratify the Constitution. The 85 essays were written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay under the pseudonym Publius. So, the Federalist Papers are the argument for the Constitution. So they painstakingly break down and justify all of the key points of the constitutional system, of the Federalist representative republic that our nation is and was founded to be. The United States never was intended to be a democracy. It was intended to be a representative republic with democratic features. In fact, the Constitution goes so far as to guarantee a republican form of government to each state. That's key. For the past century or more, one of Madison's essays, The 10th Federalist, has taken center stage, and the quoted passage above represents very briefly Madison's most famous argument, number 10. An extended republic of the kind the founders envisioned, Madison argues, has a built-in feature that safeguards the rights of its citizens arising from the very nature of society itself. Because there will be many, quote, parties and interests, the rights of the citizens will be safer than in a republic confined to a small society. Madison's argument is quite straightforward. Here's the central claim. A small republic can offer no solution to the problem of a majority faction oppressing the minority. So, just to kind of slow that down, if you have a republic that's the size of Manhattan, the majority are going to be able to overrule the people because a lot more people think the same way. But as you broaden the size and scope of the republic over such a vast nation as the United States, it's very difficult to get the majority moving in the same direction. That is until you have a two-party system, but I digress. We'll go on. And he actually explains it that way. He said, think of it this way. We can imagine the elected government of a Republic of Manhattan Island with today's population outlawing the ownership of automobiles by private citizens and rescinding the tax-exempt status of churches, but extended to the sphere of the Republic to include voters who live in rural Texas and in Bible Belt states, and assembling like-minded national majority in support of these policies becomes much more difficult challenge. You know, you can go on and read through the entire piece by Robert Curry. I recommend you do. It's excellent. I'm not going to read it word for word. But at the end of the road, it gets to this. The design of our form of government is hateful to the left and to progressives and to progressive socialists and democratic socialists because it's slow. It's delayed. It takes a lot of time. They can't get through all the things that they want, even by hook and by crook. But that's the point. The point of the Federalist representative Republican form of government is that power is shared, sovereignty is shared between the federal government and the states, with clear defined boundaries as to who has what sovereignty over what facet of law and life, and that the spectrum of interests and of priorities is so broad that it's very difficult to get everybody to move in the same fashion. It was very, very easy in the 1930s for Hitler to get Germany into lockstep, because you were looking at a very concentrated, significantly smaller, very homogeneous population with a lot of the same views, a lot of the same struggles, a lot of the same ideas. So to get the majority moving in a direction that not only oppressed, but attempted to eliminate several minorities. It was so easy to get that engine running because it was a more direct democracy in the German parliamentary system at that time. Under the Weimar Republic, it was a very direct vote. So the parties were very strong and they thought very much alike. So it was very easy to galvanize and motivate the people toward a horrific end. Now in the United States, our diversity of thought, never mind your intersectionality, never mind your diversity training that you had to go through at work, diversity of thought is the greatest strength that the American people have. The fact that in this same nation, we have avowed communists, we have socialists, we have anarchists, we have libertarians, we have anarcho-capitalists, we have anarcho-communists, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but I actually saw somebody call them that. We have straight-up bull moose progressives, like my old friend Will. We have Republicans, conservatives, social conservatives, fiscal conservatives. We have people who believe that prostitution is fine, but you better have a flat tax. You know, we have such broad breadth of thought that it protects us and it keeps us safe. And you know what you can use to protect you and keep you safe? You can actually use a new product that we have, a new offering called the Gun Box. Okay? Now, there's more information on the website, but the mission here with Gun Box is to help kids and families be safe while having access to a firearm readily available in your home. Their line of gun safes has an audible alarm if it's moved or tampered with. Add-on mobile alert subscription that will send a notification to your smartphone if your gun safe has been moved or tampered with, or if the battery drops under a specific percentage of charge. No other gun safes have as much tech and features as this line. Okay, Gunbox, you can use code MoJo5.0 at checkout for 10% off on orders over $159. And it's a brand new solution that we have available for you. That's Gunbox. And again, sorry about that. Use code MoJo5.0 at checkout. Now, there's more information on MoJo5.0 radio.com. Check that out on MoJo5.0 radio.com. And that is the Gun Box. It's a line of gun safes that you can access with the wave of a RFID card or fob, simple swipe of a finger, press of a custom key code. The Gun Box opens in seconds. It's a modern design with sleek lines that not only make it a great addition to any space, but it's the perfect reason to bring your everyday carry gun out from hiding in the closet or into in the basement safe. Asking yourself, will my concealed carry weapon fit in the gun box? The answer is yes. The gun box fits most size handguns with room to spare for extra magazines, a blade, and other items you carry for protection. It's designed to be your go-to gun safe, and it's absolutely the best alternative for fast and reliable handgun storage. That is the Gun Box, and you can find that on MoJo5.0.com. And again, 10% off orders over $159. So, on that note, and about that cool product, I just did want to take you on back here to number 10 from the Federalist Papers. And like I said, I'm not going to go through and read word for word from this thing, but there have been attempts over the last 100 years to tear down Federalist number 10, which provides Madison's argument of the need for a large republic of diverse political thought. Now, as we said, the 10th is usually cited as the most important Federalist paper. It's both great and prominent. Its greatness is intrinsic. Its prominence is a result of a decision of progressives at the beginning of the progressive era. They decided to attack the Constitution by attacking Federalist number 10 And they've been doing it ever since. So Charles Beard was the first one. He was an early and influential progressive, and he offered a very Marxist account of the 10th Federalist Papers. He said that number 10 provided, quote, a masterly statement of the theory of economic determinism in politics. So back in those days, progressives were much more open about their enthusiasm for being Marxist, and today we're starting to see that too. They're starting to take off the veil. Lincoln Steffens, who is another prominent progressive, did a 3-week visit to the Soviet Union in 1919. On his return, he declared, "I have seen the future, and it works." So think about that. Now, every single progressive, all the way up to Gary Willis in his book Explaining America, he says, what Madison protects is not the common good, but delay as such. Remember, what we said is that the delay is the progressive's biggest complaint about the way the Constitution is built, but that's actually its biggest point. That's the safeguard against the progressive way of thought. That is a deliberate design choice to defend the American people from the tumults and the... what's the word I'm looking for? The tumults and the fever dreams of the Marxists. Now, Robert Curry, who, by the way, was author of Common Sense Nation, Unlocking the Forgotten Power of the American Idea, should check out that book as well, points out progressives have a different purpose for government than we do as conservatives and libertarians. They want to use the vast powers of government to change America. The features of the design Madison and other founders celebrate for protecting liberty, the progressives deplore. They created the delay of the Constitution. It gets in the way of their agenda, and they want to be rid of it. This is what Robert Francis O'Rourke is talking about here in this quote on Zero Hedge, where he says, can an empire like ours, with a military presence in over 170 countries around the globe, with trading relationships and security agreements in every continent, can it still be managed by the same principles that were set down 230 plus years ago? Yes, it can. And we know it's slower than you like. And it doesn't allow for these vast leaps in the greater power of the state that you would like in order to implement the changes that you see fit, in order to implement socialized medicine, in order to implement the universal basic income, in order to implement free college education for all and open borders. These are the tumults of the day. These are transitory. They too will pass. But the American Republic, so long as we defend it, will endure. The Constitution was crafted by our founders to survive men like Robert Francis O'Rourke. And sitting here in 2019, we can say confidently that it survived President Barack Hussein Obama. Looking back further than that, it survived men like the now extremely aged President Carter. It survives ineffective presidents. It survives extremely effective presidents. Our form of government, though, has been wounded. That's without question. It was wounded by men like LBJ with his Great Society. It was wounded by Obamacare. It was wounded by FDR, whose efforts, no matter how noble, served only to pump more of the poison of huge government progressivism into our veins. It was perhaps most fatally stricken by Woodrow Wilson at the dawn of the 20th century. But it is to us, my friends, it is to us to preserve it and bring it back. And music means we're about to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, oh God, I have to tell you about trouble here in Arizona. You're listening to the HoloNet on MoJo5.0. We'll be right back.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
Incoming transmission.
You're listening to the HoloNet on MoJo5.0 Radio. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins right here, right now.
Oh, yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the new Millennial Conservative Resistance does indeed begin right here, right now with you. This is the HoloNet on Mighty MoJo5.0. Thank you for joining us once again. We are on Facebook.com/HoloNet. We are on YouTube, BitChute, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeart, MoJo5.0.com, anywhere that fantastic podcasts are found. And it is an honor to be before you here today on the dream of the late, great Doc Thompson, the mighty MoJo5.0. So, coming to it now, I warned you before the break that we have to turn to some news from my very own Arizona. And according to the Arizona Mirror, Jeremy Duda writes, Congressman calls Democratic critic a little in a Twitter spat. This, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard of him, is Representative Paul Gosar. Paul Gosar is a Republican representative out of western Arizona representing Yuma. And he responded to an attack from a Democratic activist, apparently by calling him a little on Twitter. Steve Weichert, an unsuccessful Democratic legislative candidate in the 2018 election, harshly criticized Gosar on Twitter on Wednesday over his proposal to designate civil rights and farm worker activists Cesar Chavez's birthday, which is a bit of a big deal in Arizona, which I'm not a huge fan of Cesar Chavez anyway, but I digress, as National Border Control Day, in some of the most beautiful posting I have ever seen. Evidently, Paul Gosar has become an internet lord. Apparently, he must have picked this up while he was going to rallies for Tommy Robinson in the UK, along with the likes of Sargon of Akkad and Mike Meacham, the legendary Count Dankula. I think his time in the UK did him well. He learned how to be a troll. Go Paul! So designating Cesar Chavez's birthday as National Border Control Day, just the saltiness of that, it's delicious. Wash down some coffee real quick. I have the Oreo creamer in my coffee because I don't like black coffee. I like creamer. I'm spoiled now. Probably why I'm getting so damn fat. But I just can't handle it. I can't handle it. It's too crazy and stupid. So Gosar responded directly to Weichert, calling him, quote, ignorant of history and a liar, saying the Democrat calls for more bipartisanship in Washington, D.C. and at the state capitol, and then calls him, quote, a pig. He continued by saying, what a little in the conclusion of his tweet. And there's a screen cap right here of Steve Weichert saying, this man is a pig and unworthy of the office he now holds. Gosar calls for Cesar Chavez's birthday to be National Border Control Day. And there's Dr. Paul Gosar. This is his personal Twitter, not his official Twitter. But he says, Steve is ignorant of history and a liar. He says we need more bipartisanship. And if we're going to solve the very real challenges we face, and then he calls me a pig. What a little... Thursday morning, Gosar was at it again. The congressman retweeted a comment from a conservative Twitter activist who had been feuding with Weichert over his initial broadside against Gosar. Along with his tweet, Gosar included the comment, porn-loving, whiny at Steve Weichert, schooled here. Boom. Gosar has since deleted his second tweet, which was sent from his personal account, Dr. Paul Gosar, not the official account of his congressional office at Rep. Gosar. Tom Van Fleen, Gosar's chief of staff, provided a statement from the congressman doubling down on the tweets. Van Fleen said, quote, the tweets speak for themselves. Weichert's amazing historical revisionism is exceeded only by his ignorance. The point of this cultural battle is to note guys like Weichert claim they want civility and bipartisanship, and then they go around calling names. If you act like a whiny socialist, be prepared to be called out. Gosar told the Mirror through his chief of staff. So not only calling a former Democratic candidate the good old Baker India Tango Charlie Hotel, but doubling down through your chief of staff. So I think Paul Gosar has lost his mind in the best way. in the best possible way. This is a man who has been targeted and lambasted by leftist rags like the Arizona Republic and the Arizona Mirror now. Jeremy Duda, when he used to write for the Capital Times, too. And he's just sick of it, and he's going gloves off. I think he is studying at the feet of Trump, going, you know what? Let's hit him back. And, I don't know quite how to feel about it. I mean, are we losing some of the honor and some of the decorum of our form of government? I really don't know, but it feels like we're getting a little bit more toward the crazy parliamentary, like throwdowns, like you see in other countries now, and our politics are getting very interesting, to put it mildly. Speaking of things that are interesting and worry you a little bit, did you know Mother's Day is coming up? Yeah, Mother's Day is actually coming up. It's not that far away. And Nostalgia has put together a gift crate just for Mom. The items were chosen because they're the very best of what they have to offer. Nothing is too good for your wife, mom, or the grandmothers in your life. She will enjoy the maple syrup with its rich, naturally sweet flavor, full of healthy trace minerals, accompanied by their wild rice pancake mix for the perfect breakfast. That sounds so good. Hazelnut honey, which sounds like liquid crack to me. I love hazelnut. Is deliciously addictive. They just said. And is great on breads of any kind or hot cereals, tea, or coffee. Delicious blueberry jam, as tasty as it is beautiful. Great on any bread or over ice cream. And just for her, a pure soy candle. One of the few acceptable uses for soy. Hand-poured, lead and dye-free with a fragrance to relax and soothe. We know that each time she enjoys one of these wonderful products, she will know she is well cared for. You can save 10% on this Mother's Day crate or on any item in your cart when you use promo code MOM10. All orders must be received by Sunday, May 5th to guarantee delivery for Mother's Day. Time flies, so don't wait to get your gift ordered today. And remember to use the promo code MOM10, and that is on the... I believe the website is Mojo Wild Rice. Hang on, let me fix this. This is my first time talking about Nostalgia, so hang on. MojoWildRice.com. Pretty sure that's it. I know. This is like what happens when you do a live read for the first time. Come on, Nostalgia. Yes, that's MojoWildRice.com. Make sure you check that out. And again, that is promo code MOM10 for the Mother's Day package from Nostalgia. Nostalgia Wild Rice. Yeah, I think I need to get more wild rice into my life. I think that's something we need to do. But once again, kind of a Paul Gosar centric show, and I'm going to contact Paul. I'd really love to have him on. I've actually met the man on a couple of occasions. He's one of the representatives for my state congressional district here, Legislative District 13. But yeah, we go to the AZ Central story where, just to dig into this a little bit, about Paul Gosar calling for Cesar Chavez's birthday, which is a bit of a big deal for a lot of the Mexicans living here in Arizona, to be National Border Control Day. It was not a well-received call by some who knew the iconic labor leader and civil rights activist. Chavez, an Arizona native, was internationally known as the co-founder of the National Farm Workers Association in 1962, which advocated for the mostly Hispanic agricultural workers in the Southwest. The organization is now the United Farm Workers Union. He was presented posthumously with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 94, the year after he died. March 31st is Chavez's birthday. He would have been 92. Gosar said Chavez's legacy would be honored through a designation that would celebrate farm workers and help protect their jobs. He said, Cesar Chavez's lifelong work to protect American workers should be echoed and celebrated throughout America, he said in his statement. As open border Democrats continue to advocate against securing our southern border, it is critical to remember the damage illegal immigration does to American workers. U.S. Rep. Raul Grijalva, who, by the way, is this close to being a Venezuelan socialist. I'm not joking. He accused Gosar of, quote, attempting to revise history and corrupt the achievements of Cesar Chavez by attempting to paint him as a right-wing anti-immigrant hack. He said the resolution goes against everything that Cesar Chavez stood for and the legacy he left behind. Quote, in his advocacy efforts to improve the working conditions and economic well-being of the vulnerable men and women who harvest the food for our constituents' tables, Cesar Chavez is the complete opposite of the Republican Party and their current anti-immigrant, anti-worker views. Raul Grijalva is terminally full of horribly so. Just unbelievably so. This guy has been arrested at Antifa rallies, at Occupy movements, and wore it proudly. This man is an embarrassment to the House, worse than Paul Gosar calling a Democratic activist a little. Raul Grijalva should be drummed out of the House of Representatives at the height of dishonor, never to be elected again. He should be cast out from the American political scene. He is the very definition of a socialist hack, a race-baiting socialist hack. I'm not going to hold back. I don't like Raul Grijalva. I really don't. This is the guy where I cringe every time he gets on television. He says, perhaps Gosar should learn about the daily struggles of farm workers before he tries to co-opt Chavez's legacy to fit his narrow world view. Got news for you. Grijalva, who represents, by the way, one of the more urban areas of Arizona, I believe he actually represents Phoenix. You know, the city of Phoenix. I'm going to check on this. Raul Grijalva. Okay. I believe he's District 1. What's his congressional district? Okay, he represents Arizona's 7th district, which is primarily the core city of Phoenix, a little bit of Glendale, a bit of Goodyear. He represents some of the most urbanized parts of the Valley of the Sun, okay? Meanwhile, Paul Gosar, he actually represents Arizona's 4th district, which contains Yuma, Arizona, and extends all the way up to the northwest of Arizona, almost all the way down to the furthest southwest corner of Arizona, along with places like Kingman and Prescott. Paul Gosar represents rural Arizona, you hack! You left-wing shill, you. You represent inner city Phoenix. Paul Gosar has represented the farmers of Arizona. The dairy farms of the West Valley, they're huge. The chicken farms, Hickman's Farms, over by my parents' house in Tonopah, Arizona, huge industrial chicken farm. All the workers live there. They don't commute from Phoenix to Yuma or from Glendale to Arlington. No, they live there. He represents them. He's there every day. He has offices there. Grijalva is standing on pretense that he is a better voice for the farm workers of Arizona. I don't think he's set foot on one of those fields. I know for a damn fact Gosar has, and I don't 100% agree with Paul Gosar. He and I have disagreed on things. But this is the height of contempt. When a congressman who represents the innermost city in your state deigns to tell a man who grew up and owned a dental practice in that very farmland we just discussed, and has been reelected again and again and again by these same people. It makes you crazy. And they get away with it, too. A year ago, Louis Gohmert of Texas, another fantastic representative we have out of Texas, he actually presented a similar notion. He did. Grijalva responded in a similar way. Gosar said Chavez advocated for border control, citing a 1960 march he led to the Mexican border to protest illegal immigration! Cesar freaking Chavez marched to the border to protest against illegal immigration. But he would be offended, wouldn't he? Shameful. Shameful stuff. And Paul Gosar is co-opting his legacy to fit his narrow worldview. Well, I got news for you, Raul. It sounds an awful lot like Paul Gosar's narrow worldview would line up with your hero, Cesar Chavez's. Mark Grossman, who served as Chavez's press secretary and personal assistant for the last 24 years of his life, said the march was focused on something completely different. Chavez wanted to prevent workers from being brought in from Mexico to break UFW strikes. Why? Because cheap Mexican illegal labor was being used by the farmers to break the union lines. So, in other words, illegal immigration was harming American workers. Hot damn next meme. Chavez wanted to prevent the illegals from breaking the strike. He said no one championed immigrants earlier or more consistently than Cesar Chavez and the UFW, but he did oppose strike breaking by anybody, no matter who they were or where they came from, and that's what the march was all about. They're trying to paint this as two separate and distinct portions that cannot coexist. I disagree. Because so many people on the left conflate wanting a strong border, wanting a secure border, as being against immigration. So many of us are not. We are pro-legal immigration, as I am certain that Cesar Chavez was. Grossman continued to also criticize the resolution as a cheap political stunt on Gosar's part, saying it was a dishonest misrepresentation of where Chavez once stood on the issue. He said if Rep. Gosar wants to honor Cesar Chavez, he should work for a comprehensive immigration reform and help create a more clear path to citizenship. And I would respond to Mr. Grossman that immigration reform and a more clear path to citizenship starts with a secure border. It starts at a secure border because you cannot establish rules and regulations and a framework for people to legally enter the country while they are still able to illegally enter the same country, because no matter what framework you build, they won't use it. If you build it, the wall that is, they won't come. Then you can actually build out a proper framework. So no, I'm not going to sit here and rah-rah shish boom ba for Representative Paul Gosar. I don't think he needs me to. He's perfectly equipped to fight his own battles. But I figured somebody in Phoenix media ought to stand up for the guy because, ooh, great, God forbid, conservative Republican acts like conservative Republican, film at 11. And that's what the Arizona Repugnant and the AZ Mirror choose to consistently report on him as if it's a bad thing. I mean, I have not seen anything that really disappoints me coming from Paul Gosar. I mean, I think that Cesar Chavez's birthday was a great opportunity to, as I said, be just a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek, Lord, after the fashion of his friends on the other side of the pond. Which, by the way, everybody seems to want to lambast him Because he dined with Steve Bannon and far-right European politicians. And he's under fire for it now. Because he didn't immediately report it. In the filings of the House. Yeah, so now he's getting an investigation with the House Ethics Committee. Yeah, House filings are required to accurately reflect members' travels and who may be trying to gain favor with a member of Congress. So, in that, he dined with these people and had a dinner meeting with members of the UK Parliament. And instead, he was supposed to, and instead dined with prominent anti-immigration politicians. He apparently broke ethics rules. So Tom Russ, chief counsel for the House Ethics Committee, declined to discuss the matter. And now they're trying to move this against him. They're trying to say that because he wined and dined with Steve Bannon and other nationalists of Europe, that he should be raked across the coals for not accurately reporting who he dined with. Seems to be a lot of sizzle, not a lot of steak here. And this is, again, coming from azcentral. So he's saying he's under fire again for a controversial 2018 visit to the United Kingdom. He may have wrongly reported to Congress that he had a dinner meeting with members of the UK Parliament in London, when instead he dined with Europe's most prominent anti-immigration politicians. A new documentary released March 29 about Steve Bannon, President Donald Trump's former political advisor who had organized the dinner, shows footage of Gosar at the meal at the time Gosar claimed he was meeting British lawmakers. So he may have filed that wrong. And now, because he was meeting with prominent nationalists and, right-wing advocates while he was in a foreign country, he could be in a bit of trouble here. Gosar's July filing to the clerk of the U.S. House detailed the 4-day trip ostensibly to better understand free speech issues abroad. Trip was paid for by the Middle East Forum, a nonprofit that opposes what it calls radical Islam and works for Palestinian acceptance of Israel. Greg Roman, Middle East Forum director, said Thursday Gosar did meet with the British politicians before the Bannon dinner, and the members of parliament were invited to a meeting with Gosar but did not attend. Here's why the discrepancy matters, at least according to azcentral. They're supposed to reflect any member's travels and who may be trying to gain favor with a member of Congress. Violating the rules on filings could require a member to file an amended report or lead to more serious sanctions. So, in other words, you went to your meeting, but you didn't tell us you had dinner with Steve Bannon afterward. Tisk. Never mind the fact that Steve Bannon was a senior advisor to the President of the United States for a considerable amount of time. But no. So there were a bunch of other questions about this very same trip. This is the same trip where he actually attended a rally calling for the release of Tommy Robinson from jail, and where he cemented his position in the crosshairs of the left. And they go on to talk about how Tommy Robinson was banned from Twitter and how he's an anti-Islamist. And this is the kind of crap that Paul Gosar has to put up with on a daily basis. And here in Arizona, this is the way it goes. Arizona is a microcosm for the rest of the country in this respect, that you will be reported on if what you're doing scares the left. If they see you making progress, if they see you doing good work, they will come out swinging for you. And Rep Gosar, keep it up. Because you're in the newspaper, seems like twice a week now. You must be doing something right, because the Gannett shills over at the Arizona Republic are scared out of their wits. The last time I saw them this scared, they were this scared of Kelly Ward and Kelly Townsend, two of the more prominent members of the Republican Party out here in Arizona. How bad is that? That the best way we as conservatives and libertarians can judge a Republican member of Congress is how much the media hates them. Because there seems to be an inverse relationship between how much the media hates them and how good they're doing and how far they're advancing the conservative cause. So, I suppose under those lines, I should call for the Arizona Republic to keep the reports coming. They're really letting us know who we need to vote for and who we need to look out for in 2020. And if the latest from Fox News is any indication, Brandon Judd has stated there's 5 reasons Democrats will be powerless to stop a 2020 tsunami. They're talking about the red wave rising. And if these early results here in Arizona are any indication, Paul Gosar is going to be just fine. I don't see this state turning blue anytime soon, no matter what the Democrats here in Arizona have to say about it. Because every time they push, every time they try to clamp down on somebody like Gosar, they're just going to slip out of their grasp. It's happening more and more every day. The media has started to shove. And the American people have had it. Free speech is on the rocks, and we know it. We can feel it. We can taste it and smell it. And the American people are not going to put up with it for very much longer. All of our links will be in the description, of course, as always. And I just wanted to bring these little bits of more local news here in Arizona to your attention, because this is the kind of stuff that's not carried by the big boys on the national level. And as I said, the purpose of the HoloNet is to keep your eyes open to all things that move, that you would otherwise miss or be denied. Because here we hold the line against the night. And the millennial conservative resistance does indeed begin right here, right now, with you. So HoloNet operatives, keep your eyes open. Jackals, watch your sixes. From Phoenix, Arizona, and the HoloNet, and MoJo5.0, I'm Matt Holloway. Good night. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America. End transmission.